He is here. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's special council. We're going to start with item number 2, the economic development strategy, do the operations division restructure, and then we'll move on to the appointments of boards and committees. And so with that, I will ask Rod Regier to come forward. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This is...
Yeah, sorry, hold on. You're not on my screen. Go ahead, Councillor Gazzola. Why we're dealing with this? I would anticipate it's because we are going to want to have additional dialogue, which normally we wouldn't in a evening council meeting. Council meeting generally is to approve things that we've dealt with. I think that's the rationale. If somebody can correct me. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Gazzola.
There are many items that come on the committee blue paper that we discussed that have not been there before.
Yeah, but not with lengthy presentations and so on like this one will have.
I think it's of great importance that the entire community be made aware of what we're doing.
Well, I agree, and they're watching at the moment as we speak on the internet.
No, most of them are at work.
Okay. With that, Mr. Regier.
Thank you, Mayor Vrbanovich. We also, just to answer Councillor Gazzola's question on communications with the public directly, we will prepare a full communication strategy to support the plan and make sure that everybody is in the community is familiar with what the essence of and direction that we want to move in. In fact, we're very excited about how that communication strategy is coming together. So, just to recap briefly, we brought this strategy to you in a strategic session several weeks ago. There were some specific questions that Council asked us to address and suggestions for modifications, most of which were of a minor nature to the strategy. We've made some of those changes, and we'd like to report on them for you, and then we can give you an overview of the communications approach for the strategy moving forward and next steps. So we are looking for support for this direction. It will set the course for economic development for not only your economic development team, but also for our engagement with the community as a whole and our economic development stakeholders specifically for the next 4 years. And we're very excited about the direction. We think that there's a lot of support amongst our stakeholders for the direction that we're going in, and we think that it'll have a significant impact on the community and our economy. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeanette to go over the nuts and bolts of the changes that we've made so far to the strategy in response to our conversations last month.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jeanette.
Thank you. I'm going to start by just giving you a quick overview of the key areas of focus from the strategy, and then we'll get past that into the details of the changes since October 5th. So just a reminder that our strategy is ultimately driven by people, the people who make this a great city to live in and contribute to a strong economy. So to be a great city for people, we have 2 key goals: to generate varied career opportunities and to be a compelling city in which to live. And then within each of those goals, we have 3 areas of focus: Spark, Start, Grow, and Urban, Vibrant, and Connect. So since our meeting with Council on October 5th, we have revised our strategy, and we have as well returned to each of our core advisory committees: the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, Downtown Action and Advisory Committee, and Economic Development Advisory Committee, to review those changes and the content of the strategy in full, and all 3 committees have provided resolutions of support for the strategy. So from the strategy session feedback with council, we heard that the overall direction of the strategy was appropriate, but there were 4 key items that were recognized as requiring a little bit more thought before we came forward with a final version of the document. So those 4 items were investigating startup houses in the downtown in particular, supporting additional measures for retail and addressing their issue of retail vacancies, avoiding a cap of 50% on our investments where we partner with the community to implement a project, and there was a strong emphasis on the need to have a citywide approach. So I'll go through now the details for how we've responded to each of those requests for changes. So the first change was startup houses. So under Make It Start, we've added an item, and what we've tried to do here is keep this flexible. So we're acknowledging that downtown homes can be used as offices and workspaces, but the bigger issue here is the need for innovative solutions for all different kinds of workplaces. So we've identified startup houses as one possible tactic, but in general, over the course of the next 4 years, we should be always looking for new and innovative ways to accommodate our business community. With respect to retail vacancies, we did have a couple of points in the strategy to support retail, but we did hear from council that there was a strong desire to see more support for retail, not just in the downtown, but also around suburban plazas. So we are recommending that we perform a retail analysis to try to identify different tactics that we can implement to address the retail vacancy issue. So right now our strategy does specifically identify support for pop-up retail for product testing. It also identifies the use of incentives to support subdividing, in particular our downtown retail spaces that are long and aren't conducive toward a sustainable revenue model or an expense model. We have included directly in the strategy conducting a retail analysis so that we can continue to look for other solutions. Change number 3 is the elimination of the 50% investment cap, and we've chosen not to include any sort of detailed implementation language in the strategy. Rather, in the Made by Community section of the document, we talk about how this strategy has been created by the community and will be implemented through working with our partners and stakeholders. So that relationship is the message that we want the community to hear. And the implementation on the investment side is more of an internal concern and would be, Rod will actually get into that in more detail when we talk about the implementation of the program. And the next few slides will take you through some of the changes that we've made with respect to the citywide issue. So this is just a quick look back at those goals that we had identified. And in our second goal, we had previously included in the language a lot of references to having a lively urban core, and we've now added to that the importance of our suburban neighborhoods as being part of a complete city. As well, we've looked specifically at changes that needed to be made to the Make It Urban and Make It Vibrant section of the document. So when we reviewed the Spark, Start, Grow part of the strategy, we found that a lot of the business development type activities weren't geographically limited. When we talk about urban and vibrant, though, we did need to revise some of the language. So the first key change here is under Make It Urban, we had previously said that our first opportunity was to develop a dynamic downtown. Period, end of statement. We've since revised that to now add promote urbanization across the city. And we want to be clear here that when we talk about promoting urbanization, it's appropriately scaled urbanization when we go out into neighborhoods. So that doesn't mean that every single neighborhood is going to have a cluster of high-rises and nightclubs and essentially be like downtown Kitchener. Only downtown can be downtown. But there are appropriate urban experiences and amenities that can be delivered at the neighborhood level that contribute to quality of life in those communities. Under Make It Vibrant, we actually didn't need to make any changes, but I'll just call attention to the first opportunity here, which does identify the need for strong communities and neighborhood identities. Within Make It Urban and Make It Vibrant, then, we've identified several items that can be included under how to make it happen. These are our project ideas for implementation over the next 4 years. The first is citywide do-it-yourself urbanism. which is essentially amounts to the community taking that urban placemaking and creative expression into their own hands. You might have heard of guerrilla knitting, guerrilla gardening, people who are going out and putting out a chair or a swing in a public space. And so that is something that we can't do, but we can encourage the community to do. A Little Library is an excellent example of that, and an example of something, again, that would be an urban amenity, but appropriately scaled in a suburban neighborhood. Under Make It Vibrant, then, we have references to the neighborhood strategy to recognize the fact that when we do work outside downtown, it should be in partnership or in the context of that work that's being done by our community services group. And we have a community-led public art program that will be implemented through the Neighborhood Matching Fund grant. And lastly, recognizing that live performances, live music, those kinds of opportunities don't need to be limited to the downtown core and can happen throughout the community. So I'll ask Rod now to touch on that implementation question.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. Yes, so this is a recap of our discussion earlier this fall. When we simply noted that this will provide the direction for economic development staff, the general direction for economic development staff over the next 4 years. We expect to move forward on our projects within the administrative guidelines that you've already established for us, but and come forward to council with project proposals for major projects of a capital nature. We expect to live completely within the existing operating budget envelope and augment that with the economic development reserve so that there's no impact on the tax base from this particular economic development strategy. And as Jeanette was saying earlier, in the past, we've always been a minority funder of all of the projects that we've moved forward with through the Economic Development Investment Fund and other projects. We expect that to be continued, but as was suggested by Council in October, we have eliminated the cap of 50% because there may be opportunities for us to move forward on a critical strategic and catalytic project that might require greater than 50% investment, although that's not what we see as a general practice. So that's just a recap of that.
Thank you. I'm going to take you now through a few slides that give you a sense of the look and feel of the publication. So as with the last economic development strategy, we felt it was important to showcase the people in the community who are actually making it happen. Our last strategy, though, was black and white, and it was heavy on headshots, and we felt that the best way to communicate the Make It Kitchener message is to actually show people at work making things. So we have a series of photographs that help to demonstrate that, and the publication itself will then be built out with other modular grids of photographs. And we have a lot of checklists that we're working through to make sure that we're representing all different kinds of industries, occupations, racialized groups, ages, and neighborhoods in the geography of the city. So this first picture shows Make It Spark, and this is Jen and Agnes working in Quartz Lab, and they are artists and makers. Next, we have a couple of the guys from Palette. Palette has just won a User Experience Design Award, and they're over in the Velocity Garage in the Tannery. And they've developed a modular device that can be used to control and interact with computer software. Here we have Mohammed from Kuntz Electroplating. Kuntz really helps to tell the story of Make It Grow. They have a long history in this community and have managed to weather many storms and remain a competitive, strong business with really wonderful values. So we're really proud to have them in the publication. Under Make It Urban, we have Janice Lee, a musician and spoken word artist, working in Workplace One, an urban environment. For Make It Vibrant, we felt the Kitchener Market really helps tell the vibrancy story. So you can see Nick here serving up a taco. And lastly, under Make It Connect, we felt that the GO train helps to tell the story of connecting outside of our region. So the Make It Kitchener campaign, we are intending to launch in 2016. We feel that it's not ideal to launch the campaign in December when it could be lost in a lot of the holiday noise and distraction. So this gives us time to really work out the details for how to bring this campaign to life. Our last strategy was a really effective document and was well used, but it was ultimately one document, and this is designed as a campaign with the intention of having many different tactics to bring it to people in the community and outside of our community. Thank you very much. Rod, is there anything you need to add?
No, we're here to answer questions that you may have, and I think most of our management team is here as well to support that.
Okay, thank you very much to both of you. I think it's fair to say this is a very exciting new document that really is going to help take us to the next level in terms of where we've been over the last decade and beyond. A number of people with questions, comments. Councillor Ioannidis.
Thanks, Mayor Urbanovic. My question is relating, and I just want to touch upon, and I don't know if it was in this report or the last one, but I just want to get a sense of the community engagement and how many organizations we dealt with or individuals we dealt with to come up with some of these great ideas.
Yeah, we had conversations with over 400 people.
Yeah, I actually, just for the fun of it, tallied how many stakeholders, and outside of the city, it was about 400. But if you include all the people within the city, it's 487 at last count. So I think there was probably unprecedented, from our perspective, involvement from our advisory committees this time around. They were extensively involved, not just as a sounding board, but in actually generating and helping us think about the content that went into this strategy. And then we had participation from our own staff. It was important for us to be working with the neighborhood strategy group, with the digital strategy group, and other people within the organization to help develop this content.
Okay, so it's very thorough community involvement with this document, and I don't think it's in here, but this did pass as a motion in Economic Development Advisory Committee, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Economic Development Advisory Committee passed a resolution. Well, thank you very much. Under community engagement at the end of the report, it reads that the Economic Development Advisory Committee supports the 2015 Economic Development Strategy, Make It Kitchener, as presented on October 28, 2015.
Okay, that's good. Good to hear. Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to move the recommendation when it's appropriate and have my comments at that time.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you, and just great to see how this has evolved. So quick question first. Clearly, you've taken some of the feedback that was received from not only from this committee, but sitting on the EDAC as well, some of the feedback that was received from our citizens group there. I've seen that the changes implemented. The overarching document the final product, will it also kind of highlight and take opportunity to list out some of the unique assets that this community has, more of a call to action? I'm assuming that this document is just not to praise ourselves and keeping as a local document for us to see and how well we're doing, but also to attract others to simply just, promote ourselves, I guess,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. We've discussed, as Jeanette mentioned, we are thinking about this as a campaign as opposed to a single standalone document. It's important for us to develop messages that are customized for particular audiences, and we'll definitely develop a business development tool which will showcase assets of the city and promote the city as a destination for investment as part of this. So you'll see a series of documents come out that will help serve each of those functions over the next little while.
Good. It just sometimes it loses that messaging when there are so many things and so many projects that are going at the same time. Yeah. And as I said, we do have a lot of unique opportunities and assets in the community. If you can use one document to kind of list them out, and more of a call to action to the development community, to the industries, to the economies, to showcase what we have within Kitchener as well. Mr. Mayor, can I make my comment too, or should I just keep back in?
Keep back in if you can. Councillor Fernandez.
Yeah, thanks. I have a number of questions related to this. One of the bullet points was about the, you had EDR. What's that acronym for?
Economic Development Reserve.
Okay. And you said something about renewing the Economic Development Reserve post-2019.
Yeah.
So is it your intention then, I think the projected for 2016 is 9.4 million in the reserve. Is it your intention to drain that reserve entirely by 2019?
Our estimates are not that extensive. We've just recently transferred $5 million, $5.2 million into the reserve in order to from the city centre project, in which we had anticipated building a parking garage, which we're no longer planning to do. So there have been no discussions or considerations of what to do with that particular portion of the Economic Development Reserve at this stage. There has been some consideration for the need to invest in a future parking structure at some point, but we won't know what that requirement is until the parking study that's underway right now is completed. So. In the answer to the question is simply no.
No, okay. Maybe you can't answer this, but maybe Mr. Chapman can. What other, because I was trying quickly to look at the capital budget and the reserves, what other items could that Economic Development Reserve be used for? Is there other, I mean, is each of our, I guess it's a bit of a broader one where you're looking at reserves that are insurance reserves or, I can't, off the top of my head, telephone reserves, sick leave reserves. We have all these different reserves. It's pretty evident what they would be used for, but economic development is pretty broad umbrella. Is there other areas that we could use that money for across the city?
I guess I'll ask Mr. Chapman to comment on that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can go back and look at the policy, but if memory serves, I believe the primary use, the wording was something to the effect of to fund projects as approved through the economic development strategy. So it really is the funding vehicle for this strategy. I do believe that there were a few other approved uses. I believe the acquisition of downtown lands and some other related projects. I can email council that complete list, but there was a defined list.
Okay, because I would be, would all of the, any of the funding that would come out of that reserve, would that have to be vetted through council? Or would that just be under the economic development group and they could use that money as they would see fit?
Mr. Chapman?
Through the chair, all purchases would still be subject to the same requirements of the purchasing bylaw, and so conceivably there could be small value purchases made with staff discretion, but any purchase of consequence would be either approved through the budget or you'd see it through a tender or an RFP process. Okay,
do we have an upset limit on that?
We require formal quotes internally up to 125,000, and then tenders above 125,000. Consulting, as you know, has to come to council above 25,000. So there are different rules there.
Okay, so economic development could spend up to $125,000 on economic development projects without coming to council.
Conceivably, yes, but I'll let Mr. Regier perhaps comment on what his planned approach is in terms of his project plan.
Yes, what we propose to do is come forward to council with significant projects as they get to the point of being completely defined, and we consider council to be the primary champion of the strategy. We're very interested in council's direction on major projects, and we certainly will be coming forward to you with requests for support, for significant initiatives.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I guess the challenge I would see is, I mean, this is that's an interesting document, and we've got, I guess, the outline here. I read through it a couple of times because it's, there's some interesting flowery language that goes along with some of these ideas. But by saying that we support this, it means that we're saying that we support the spending behind this as well. Would that be a correct assumption?
Notice that in each of the projects, the project lists, most of the projects that we want to proceed with are actually still in their formative stages and still require council discussion and formal approval, particularly for strategic investments. So you are not approving a blanket capital or operating budget increase here. What you are asking us to do is to proceed with the implementation of the strategy up to the point where financial decisions are made, and then we'll come back to you for significant decisions.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Fernandez, you're past 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll key back in.
Okay. There is nobody else, so you can continue, I guess, because the others are just moving the motion, I presume, and making comments. So go ahead. Okay.
Thanks. So some of the things that I was looking at, like make it spark and make it start, are we not doing some of these already? Like on page 2-12, it says 3 objectives: be agile in the provision of service of startups, attract entrepreneurs, become a magnet for investment. Are we not already doing that?
Yes, I think it's fair to say that some of the initiatives here we actually are continuing to do and have been experimenting with in the last strategy. But this is that particular strategy. Which one of those lists are you?
Well, on 212.
Yep.
So it was. You said it was.
Oh yes, right. Oh,
3
3
objectives.
objectives, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, certainly that we see that as a major objective, and the simple point here is that our startup community has evolved significantly in the last 4 years. We are now at a different point in the community than we were in 2011. We have new opportunities, and our startups have got new requirements. And so we see ourselves continuing to adapt in terms of the services and the specific strategies that we deploy in support of the startup community. I'll give you a little example. Like in 2011, when we launched KEDS, our startup community was really nascent. It was in its formative stages. We didn't have much to offer the international investment community, particularly venture capital companies, as a target. But since then, our startup community has literally exploded, and there's a lot of interest in the investment community. We think that it's possible in the next stage of the strategy to attract. Office presence, the office presence of venture capital firms, for example, and other financial institutions to support the startup community.
Okay. 2 more questions. I was looking at page 2-9 and the statement that you quoted from Greg, I want to say it's Baker, but I'm sure I'm not saying it correctly, who was the founder of Authenticity. I looked at his background, and I was interested to note that he's very interested in heritage and cultural. So, if you're using his words and his approach, can I ask why you didn't talk to the Heritage Committee? Because I would think that the Heritage Committee would have been very interested to know about any plans or any development within the downtown area or within any part of the city that may have heritage connotations.
We, through the chair, we did extend an invitation to all advisory committees to be part of our Ideas of the Brave consultations. And off the top of my head, I can't remember, I think all but one advisory committees did choose to participate in that conversation. We engaged more extensively with the 3 core economic development advisory committees with respect to the formulation of the strategy, but we did reach out to all advisory committees to participate in the process.
And thanks, Janet. That's perfect lead into my next question was, on page 219, when you say you told us, you suggested, you shared. So roughly you said it was about 487, so close to 500, out of a population of 250,000 that actually you spoke to or who participated in these brave ideas and these. I mean, that's a pretty small percentage if you take that in relation to the number of residents for the city. How do we know that this is speaking to the average resident who lives in, South Creek Drive or on Pioneer Drive or on Activa Drive or any of those sort of outlying areas? How do we know that?
We, through the chair, we actually worked with the Corporate Strategic Planning Group to take all of the consultation work that they did, which was a really broad public consultation, and fed that into our process and made that part of our research as well. And we characterized our own consultation as we presented to Council during this strategy session in February as more of a stakeholder consultation. We didn't want to duplicate the work that was done through the corporate strategic planning process. So instead, we chose to take more of a targeted approach to try to reach out. But we had, different goals to reach. So we were trying to reach representatives of all different kinds of sectors and occupations and interests within the community, as well as engaging the advisory committees to ensure there was representation across the board. So it was a smaller group, certainly, but we did open up the consultation as well and promote it for anybody who wanted to get involved. They didn't have to be invited by invitation through the corporate strategic or corporate social media accounts. We were extending out the opportunity for anyone to get involved in our consultations as well.
Okay, thanks for your answers. I'll have comments.
Councillor Etherington, are you questions or comments? Okay, go ahead.
Question to either Jeanette or Rod. This is a very imaginative report. I had one question. I see at least 6 examples of overlap with Creative Enterprise Initiative report that we'll be considering this evening, I believe. Should CEI, for that reason, be under the umbrella of Make It Kitchener?
Well, we see the emphasis in Make It Kitchener on cultural industries is actually complementary to and reflecting a community-wide consensus that the arts are a critical part of the future of our economy and will play a strategic role in our success. So we see them as complementary as opposed to competitive. The actions that we've got in our strategy relating to creative industries are actions that we think are in the bailiwick of the City of Kitchener as a municipal organization and quite distinct from what CEI's mandate is.
But to give you one example, and that's my last question, on page 212, and I'm quoting, establish a creative hub for artists, especially in the music, film, theatre, and digital media industries, offering such things. Surely that's exactly what CEI is doing, or hopes to do.
Well, it was something that we received fairly emphatic feedback through our consultation process on, and it's not a particular focus of CEI at the present time. They had an incubator facility on Herb Street, which was a time-limited arrangement with a developer for a period of time. I think has been exhausted now, and so that function is actually not being addressed at the present time. However, I think that we need to be clear that we're not saying that CEI wouldn't be a natural part of that final solution, whatever it may be, to build a creative hub for the arts industry.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Marsh, questions or comments? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. One is when you refer to startup houses, being a potential avenue for encouraging more startups, would there need to be some bylaw changes, or do you anticipate that within the existing bylaws that those would be possible?
Well, it's something that we're going to take a look at. In the downtown zoning right now is very flexible, so within the constraints of the existing downtown zoning, there's quite a lot of latitude, and I think the two existing houses that have been identified as startup houses have both fit within that existing zoning framework. If that concept were to be something that a property owner wanted to proceed with beyond the downtown, then zoning amendments would have to be put in place. But I just want to be clear that zoning and land use planning is not my area of expertise or responsibility. I will pass it over to my colleague Michael May if he wishes to comment. We have had considerable conversation with our planning colleagues about this to make sure that it fit.
Great, yeah, because and the reason I ask is because of what I understand is that sometimes people with prospective business ideas are hitting up against some red tape, that is difficult to navigate, to say it lightly. Yeah, so it would be great if part of the economic development, it would be great if part of Make It Kitchener's goal would be to decrease the red tape for getting a business off the ground. The second question is, as we see the Waterloo Region Economic Development Corporation revving up and beginning operations, can you help us understand how Make It Kitchener relates to economic development efforts in other municipalities, or even to the efforts of that corporation?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, we when we were going through the process of building the regional economic development strategy, there was considerable thought given to what the role of the region and local municipalities and the new corporation would be. So we did build just a little frame of reference for that to make sure that we were in alignment with the REDS program and with the implementation of the Regional Economic Development Corporation and its mandate. So the list that has been allocated to local municipalities as their prime responsibility includes promoting innovation that occurs in Waterloo Region as a core part of the our values within the region, ensuring that there's a continuous supply of greenfield land and available industrial and office space and brownfield projects that match demand for the expected demand profile for those resources, to provide accelerator resources to other sectors where appropriate, promoting partnerships and collaboration, promoting a sustainable urban fabric, encouraging and promoting arts, culture, and creative endeavor in the Waterloo region, and enhancing the Waterloo region's unique sense of place. So those were the areas that were seen as the core responsibility of the local municipalities, and we think that the economic development strategy we're presenting here fits perfectly with that. So we see this as complementary to the larger regional project. However, we're going to make sure that the new corporation is informed of our strategy and help support it.
And would you say that we're trying to, is it fair to say that we are eking out our own brand or within our wider region, that you want to show that Make It Kitchener is Kitchener uniquely Kitchener and not any other part of the region?
Absolutely. Thank you for that point. I think it's clear as the largest city in the region that we have a significant contribution to make to the regional economy, and we need to make sure that we're leveraging our resources to, and have a strategy which is focused and effective.
Okay, I just have a quick comment. I can say it later or now?
Yeah, I'll come back to you. Councillor Davey, questions?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Just one quick question. I'll have comment afterwards as well, Mr. Mayor. Since we saw this report last, council's priorities for this term of council, the results have come back, and it's put fiber and internet infrastructure among the top priorities. Being that it's in this report as well, will economic development be working with corporate services and IT for a unified strategy on this piece?
Yeah. We've had quite a bit of discussion with the Digital Kitchener team. They're taking the lead on this, but we certainly see their interest in digital infrastructure in and across the city as being a key component of this strategy, and we'll support them fully on that exercise.
Is there a possibility for crossovers in financial support as well from Economic Development Reserve? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Ioannidis for the motion, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank the economic development team, particularly Rajanet, all the members in the gallery. I mean, it took the whole department to come up with this strategy, and even volunteers from other departments within the city. I mean, it's just tremendous on the amount of collaboration that we all want to see a common goal in the city with economic development move forward. I'm thoroughly impressed with the significant variety of community stakeholders that were involved in the preparation of this document and representing from arts and several areas within our city. Economic development was one of the top 3 areas of focus that was within our Emeronic study, and it's one of the areas that residents want us to develop and to invest in. And I think this document in itself, it's, I love the make it approach. I mean, it's fresh. It's a great representation of our community from the past historically when it comes to manufacturing and now to the tech and everything else, and continuing to advance manufacturing. And I like how it still has that focus of manufacturing, and it also deals with economic development throughout the city and in our neighborhoods, and not just economic development with downtown. So, I mean, I think this is just a great document, and great work, and I'm pleased to move this recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Actually, we are in council. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Singh, you're next in line to speak. So
I was going to just ask to second it anyway, so thank you. Just to have seen the extensive community engagement, clearly this overarching strategic document is a unified vision of our community. And although the aspects of funding and how much monies there are in the current reserve, how will they be best utilized to achieve the results that's outlined through this strategic document is going to be a long-term discussion that I look forward to taking part of. But I want to take that opportunity to give my support in outlining, support for funding that will ensure jobs in our community, take the burden off our tax base, and of course help or continue to evolve our local economy into the 21st century. Especially because when we think outside the box and aspire for a more bolder vision, a great community and a stronger economy emerges. And we aren't competing just within our local, in our neighborhood. It's globally. The KEDS 2.0 or KEDS 15, or whatever you want to call it, has evolved and matured to a clear roadmap on how Kitchener can and will be a shining beacon to attract talent, development, and industries. So just a great compliment to our staff, all involved in having brought us to where we are, and glad to support it.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I too wanted to acknowledge the work that went into this report. I'm happy that I personally agree with all of the numerous amounts of feedback that was received. I'm particularly happy that there continues to be a strong focus on startups. As we found out recently, our region has the highest concentration of startups outside of Silicon Valley. And I think it's a particularly important area of business, because when you think about how resilient a community is, if you think of a community that's based on 2 or 3 very large businesses and how vulnerable they are to any sort of closure, versus a community that has hundreds or even thousands of startups, you begin to understand how much more resilient our economy will be. Also, of course, I'm very happy to see that there is mention in here of building out of the broadband and fiber networks. I do personally believe that that's going to be a critical factor of any sort of economic development in the not-too-distant future.
Councillor Marsh?
Thank you. I just want to echo some of the comments that have already been mentioned. Thank you for all the hard work, Jeanette and Rod, your leadership and your whole team. Thank you for this excellent product. I really appreciated being able to lead an Ideas of the Brave conversation and to partake in the symposium. It was just so exciting and interesting to hear the multiple conversations from people from all over the city, not just from one niche area or another. So yeah, that's all. I just want to say thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing it roll out.
Councillor Etherington.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I too think this is a great document that could transform our city. I've already, a couple of minor points, but I've already expressed concern about the overlap with CEI. And on a more facetious level, I would hope that startup houses, as you call them, in residential areas would not, as happened in my ward, be painted lime green and come complete with fire poles interior. So, but that's just on a facetious. I'm sure that's very popular with the people in the house, so not necessarily the neighbors. But anyway, it's a fabulous report, so thank you very much.
Councillor Fernandez.
Thanks. So I'm going to be the naysayer in the group, which is not always the best side to be on. But there was a lot of really interesting ideas that I heard as I attended the Brave Ideas workshop. And while attending the event, I really tried to take note of who was attending. And I noticed that truly there were community members from a broad sector, but a lot of the sectors were ones that would have a vested interest in this kind of approach, a bit more artistic, cultural kind of approach to the way we're looking at economic development, and that that's creative and it's different and it's unique. But I guess my concern is and it's only because I continue to get, as we all do, sitting around this horseshoe, concerns about bylaw and parking and snow plowing and grass cutting. So where do those residents' voices get heard? Because I don't know if they understand these kind of strategies. If I don't know if they get why we're doing this, why we would be spending and budgeting, a possible $9 million for these kind of initiatives. And I think that it's not to say that it's wrong. I just want to put it out there that there are residents who don't give a fig Newton about this kind of stuff. What they want to know is their street going to get plowed within 24 hours? Are they going to be tagged and towed? Is the grass going to be cut in the park where their kids play sports? Are we going to have another water main break that's going to put their business out of business for an entire day or two? Is the community center that they use going to be expanded? Are there going to be programs for their kids, for the seniors, for our changing demographics? Those are the things that I think that they're concerned about. So this is an interesting document, has some very unique, interesting quotes from a variety of people. You've used visual artists, you've used this Greg Baker, you've used Oliver Wendell Holmes, Isaac Newton. So it's interesting that you've gone to doing research and using a variety of quotes, but is that what our average citizen is getting? Do they really get this? And I guess that's where I'm wondering if we're falling down. And I mean, to speak for my residents, do they want to see their tax dollars going to some of these initiatives instead of going to those basics, pipes and parks and pavements and those kind of things? So those are my comments.
Councillor Galloway-Seelock.
Yeah, I just want you one more time thank you for all the work you've done and for the changes that you made, because I really feel like you've incorporated a lot of what we've asked for around this horseshoe, including what you had already presented to us. So I really do appreciate you hearing what we've had to say and incorporating that. And you did it many times over, and I'm really, really pleased with that, so thank you. I just want to say one thing, that we were encouraged at the onstart of this strategy to take part in it. And we were encouraged by Jeanette and Rod to have kitchen table talks so that we could get to as many people as we could and talk to our residents about what they felt was important for the strategy. And I did take that opportunity and sat down with 5 residents from my ward, and they were able to provide feedback on this strategy. And I think it's really important that we note that the average citizen was looked at, because I polled 5 people from my ward and were able to get that feedback to come back into the strategy and move forward on top of all the other initiatives and community engagement that were presented to us through this report by staff. I believe truly that everyone in our community wants jobs, and they want to live in a vibrant community. Environics has told us to so, and that was done with a statistically representative numbers in our community. So I really strongly believe that this is a strong strategy for us to move forward that will benefit all residents of Kitchener.
Any other comments? If not, I will make mine. I too want to thank staff for, quite frankly, a really well done report and strategy. And also thank you for the efforts and the level of engagement that happened throughout our community on this issue. I mean, some would argue that perhaps 500 people, 580 people isn't a lot. The reality is that if we look at our levels of citizen engagement on most issues, 580 is in fact a very high number. And so to think that we've had that many people engaged on a complex issue is, in my view, really an indication of the amount of effort and work that you did collectively as a division to make that happen. I think it's also important to remember that economic development is in fact a key area of responsibility for any municipal council. In fact, it's a key area of responsibility for any order of government, and it's why both the province and the feds are increasingly turning to, looking to, and working collaboratively with municipalities in order to enhance economic development efforts in an increasingly competitive world. One only needs to talk to mayors in other parts of Ontario, other parts of the country, to understand that cities that don't focus on the future, that don't look ahead, but simply look behind, ultimately start to gradually not be a place where people want to live and where those cities begin to struggle. In fact, the reality is there is a direct correlation between economic development, job creation, growth in the community, and the ability to deliver the kinds of services that citizens want to have in our communities. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have the tax base under which you can pay for those services, because companies are closing down, because companies are moving, because you're not creating new jobs, because people aren't living in your community, you end up not being able to afford those services, and the community starts struggling. One only needs to look at places, like Detroit to get quite frankly, an understanding of what that means. And so I don't want to be there as a community, and I'm proud of the fact that Kitchener, in fact, has taken a leading position in the past, that we are on the upwards curve. I spoke with Mayor Tory not that long ago, and he was saying, when he talks about Toronto and innovation and digital and economic development, it's not long in the conversation about Toronto before Kitchener-Waterloo comes up. That hasn't happened accidentally. That's happened because of the work that we've done. And I think this strategy builds on that, particularly builds on it in some key areas, such as startups, such as technology, such as advanced manufacturing, and starts exploring how can we even grow and do better as a community going forward, and continue to see this area see some of the fastest or some of the highest growth in gross domestic product in the country, as identified by the Conference Board of Canada. So I would have hoped that this document is supported unanimously, but if it isn't, I guess that's the prerogative of individual members of council. But it is something that, in my view, is a key responsibility of us as elected leaders, because that's what we were asked to do when we were elected. We were elected as a board of directors to lead this community and make important decisions around decisions such as this. Okay. Thank you. Recorded vote has been called. Thank you very much. We'll now move to item 3 in the agenda, the Operations Division restructure. Mr. Wilmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Tiagi is not here today, as Council knows. He advised us a couple weeks...
Just hang on one sec. Sorry? No, I said we'll do that one last. So, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Tiagi is not here today. As Council knows, he advised us a couple of weeks ago that he is going to be off for a time dealing with a family-related health matter. But I can speak to the report, and I think the report essentially speaks for itself. As is not at all a surprise to Council, community expectations for our Operations Division are high and growing, and over time our Operations Division is less and less able to respond to the expectations of the community. As it is today, Operations is the largest division in our organization. Even if we were to divide it in half, as is recommended in this report, the 2 resulting divisions would be 2 of the 4 largest, along with Kitchener Utilities and the Fire Department. So our established protocol, Council approval is required before we add to the full-time permanent headcount. And so our recommendation here is that a full-time director-level position be established so that the Operations Division can be divided into 2 more manageable divisions and be better able to respond to the challenges that are before it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wilmer. We have a number of people with questions. Councillor Gazzola.
I really don't have a question. My point is that I would like to see this deferred to our budget meetings. I think it's really not appropriate to bring this in at this point. Quite frankly, I do not have enough information. There really is a page and a half of information concerning this position. And when it comes to adding staff, it is something that's with us forever, and I think we need a lot more detailed information. But the bottom line is, it is really a budget item and should be discussed along with all our other budget discussions so it can be properly prioritized. So I would ask that this be deferred.
Okay,
as
Councillor
part-
Gazzola, I have 6 other people in the queue. I'm going to allow them to ask their questions before I come to you to move your deferral motion. And then, depending on what happens with that deferral motion, we'll either deal with it or we'll either defer it or we'll then take another motion on the floor if it doesn't succeed. So, Councillor Galloway-Seelock, you were next in the queue.
Yeah, just because I don't think staff have had an opportunity to necessarily speak to why it's coming before budget. That would be my first question. What is the reason it's here before budget?
Through the Mayor, there is urgency to this matter. The Director of Operations position is vacant now, and before we recruit to fill the position, we need to know what the scope of work is. It's not the only vacancy. There's also one of the 3 manager positions that's vacant. So if we defer the matter till after final budget day, we will lose 2 months, and in our mind, particularly at this critical season of the year, but in any case, the 2 months would be a significant disadvantage for us.
Okay. My other question would be, it's with regards to the second part of the recommendation to enable 2 divisions to be created from the current operations division. Has there been any thought given to keeping it as 1 division just with 2 directors that would have their own departments directly reporting to them?
To be honest, no, but I think that the way we would expect, if this is approved, the way we would expect these 2 resulting divisions to work is pretty much what you're suggesting. You know, we have an organizational culture, and it's something we aspire to continue to improve on, which is that we work across departmental and divisional lines. We try to break down silos, and we're all one team. We're all here to serve the community. And so whether it's 1 division with 2 directors or 2 different divisions, I think that we would expect both of those directors and all the people on those teams to work as though they are one, as they are with the rest of the organization.
Right, and so the only part that concerns me is the second part of the recommendation after the comma then, to establish 2 divisions to be created from the current operations division. So that's the part of the recommendation that I have concerns with. Is that something that if we omitted that, you could look at that as overall organizational context?
Through the Mayor, if that was omitted from Council's direction today, that would be quite acceptable to us. It actually leaves us more flexibility as to how we would reorganize. The reorganization itself is an administrative matter. It's staff's responsibility. What we're looking to Council for is the position. So the second part is for context, but if deleted, it's not a problem.
Right, so you probably wanted, though, somewhere in that first sentence to say something about the operations portion. So if I craft something like that, I would, I won't make comments, but should the deferral fail, I'd be willing to move that as the recommendation.
Depending on what happens with the deferral, I'll come back to you. Yep. Councillor Fernandez?
Yes. In conversations I've had with Mr. Tiagi before he needed to depart, we talked a lot about efficiencies and how that could happen. So, in all fairness, I'm going to ask this question, but I think it would have been much better if he would have been able to answer this. In our discussions, with regards to the 2 directors, I wanted to understand if, in having 2 directors, would we be able to see some efficiencies in our managerial level through attrition in the coming year, in hopes that that would offset the cost of an additional director? Because I think what I'm understanding is the directors are feeling overloaded and overburdened, and then maybe that there could be some efficiencies struck at the managerial level through attrition. I don't know if you're able to respond to that, Mr. Wilmer.
Certainly, through the chair, yes, that has been part of our conversations. I don't think that that's something we can promise or guarantee, and I wouldn't want to suggest that because I wouldn't want to mislead Council on it. I think that we've been clear in terms of the accelerated infrastructure renewal program, and in terms of the need to deal with utility rate increases that also include a percentage for maintenance and operations. Certainly the volume of work is growing, and the scope of the division is unmanageable. I don't think that having the same number of people with just different titles and responsibilities is going to solve the problem. We are looking for an additional person here.
And I understand that, and I can definitely see where Mr. Tiagi has made the case for that. I think that the oversight and the amount of workload for one director is pretty astronomical. But I guess if you can't make any promises, and it would be short-sighted to make any promises at this time, I think, without Mr. Tiagi being here, I think that I would lean towards some kind of agreement with a deferral, as Councillor Gazzola has suggested, maybe closer to our budget conversations.
Councillor Schneider.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vervanovic. Is there any idea of what the reorganization might look like if there were two directors?
Through the Mayor, there are a number of options being considered, but really we haven't gone too far down that path until we know where Council stands on the matter.
Okay. And can you see some changes and efficiencies gained with the two directors and different reorganization?
Certainly we think that this will be an improved organization if this is approved. I hesitate to use the word efficiencies, though, because typically what we mean there is doing more with the resources that we've got. And here we're actually looking for more resources.
Sorry, what I should have said is improve customer service.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So from the earlier item, there were comments raised about our citizens wanting more for out-of-service delivery, and I agreed with every aspect of it. I think our citizens do ask a lot for the service delivery in the sense that they want good customer service. So in answering that, are we meeting those objectives? And over the last little while, we've looked at our service delivery response, and as well as how we, in metrics, how we measure in our customer service satisfaction. Are we falling short, would this kind of speak to that?
Through the Mayor, we are falling short. It's sometimes been said that if you don't have enough resources to do the work you're expected to do, at least communicate what you're able to do. And I think the problem we have is that we're able to do neither of those to the satisfaction of the community. So that we aren't able to provide the level of service, and we haven't been able to communicate most effectively enough as to what can we do with the resources we've got. And that's really why so many of these issues land in the laps of ward councillors, that you become so aware of them and so involved in them, which is really not an effective way to run an operations division with one director and 10 ward councillors trying to direct the day-to-day work.
But does that also play an aspect of efficiency too, when the mandate is so large for just one director, for a department the size and the number of managers and people that they would be responsible for? When you have that large of a portfolio, is it difficult to seek out efficiencies and have that constant kind of objective and focus when you're trying to deal with so much?
It's difficult, but not impossible. Certainly that's been our goal for a number of years, is to try to find those efficiencies. And certainly it's the reason why when Mr. Tiagi arrived here about 11 months ago, he didn't rush to any recommendations or conclusions about what to do to solve what was an evident problem that council had made us aware of even before a new department head was hired. He wanted to make sure that he took stock of the challenges that we have before rushing to make any recommendations. Sure. But here we are 10, 11 months later, and this report essentially puts forward the case that it's time.
And I really appreciate that you don't want to overpromise. But is it fair to say when we have, I guess, two directors for this type of a department, that they, over time, that there could be capacity for increased efficiencies?
Yes, absolutely. I think the report refers in somewhat vague terms to a number of key vacancies, and so the Director of Operations and one of the managers are two of those key vacancies, but we also have vacancies with the Manager of Service Coordination and Improvement, and that role is really all about helping to find efficiencies and make us more effective with the resources we've got. Yes, we certainly look for the outcomes of this report to help us make the operation more efficient. And we need to do that because we know that the resources are limited and we need to serve the community more effectively.
Last question, because we currently have a vacant position for the director role as well as a managerial position too in the operations department. If you don't fill that and we're still waiting on this report, if it's deferred into budget, what would happen going into the winter season?
We're relying very heavily on the acting director, and the title escapes me for the moment, but I think it's associate director. There's an acting associate director. Cynthia's confirming. So those are people who are the full-time managers, and they're now both in an acting director, sharing an acting director role.
Is it fair to say our customer service delivery will be further diminished then?
Yes, we were struggling when all these roles were full, and now we're down a couple of key people, so we're definitely struggling.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Davey?
Thank you. I'm supportive, but I'm wondering if staff has any benchmark indicators on the number of new permanent full-time positions that have been created across the corporation in the past 2, 3, 4, any number of years that might highlight how often or frequently, or my sense in years I've been here, infrequently we add new staff.
Through the chair, I don't have the exact numbers at my fingertips, but I would agree it's very rare that we come to council with this type of a request, and when we do, and the couple of examples that I looked at as we were developing this report, in fact, they weren't typically new positions; they were contract positions being made permanent or part-time positions being made full-time, and so it is very rare that we would come to council to say we need a new position. Starting from 0 to 1 is very rare.
Thank you.
Councillor Fernandez, you have more questions? Or? Okay, go ahead.
Part of my one question. The CRM, or MRS, yeah, I think it's CRM, I always use the acronym incorrectly. It's supposed to be rolled out in the coming year. My understanding is that it's only being rolled out to the Mayor and Council office and to the call center, but not to operations. Will that program, if that's the case, why not? Because I would think that that's directly connected to our customer service delivery. And would it help these two, if we have two new directors, would it help them find better connections between concerns of the citizens and how we respond to them?
So through the chair, I would look to Jana Miller to speak to the rollout of the CRM, but suffice to say that the vast majority of the work that the customer service reps deal with is operations division work. Even if the flow goes to the CSRs first, the people who get out in the field to respond to the calls are typically operations division.
Exactly.
Ms. Miller?
Basically, Jeff answered the question in the same way that I would. Operations is one of the key customers of the corporate contact center. So all of their work orders, all of the issues that citizens call about come through the contact center and are dealt with that way. And that's how work orders are sent out to the operations folks.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part, Jenna.
The work order, all of the concerns that citizens may have or may call in about to the corporate contact center that relate to operations, that's how they're dealt with. That's how work orders are created and then sent out to operations folks to be addressed.
Okay, I understand that, but I think it's the closing the loop component that I was a little bit puzzled about, because that's why I thought it would be going out to operations because of the city works and the work orders. I don't want to get into that right now. I just wanted to understand if rolling out that program would help these two new directors find a better way of addressing the customer service concerns that operations always has to deal with. So I guess your answer is yes and no?
It's as clear as that, yes. I don't think we know the full extent of what we're going to be able to do with the customer relationship management software yet. I do expect that at some point, because of the analytics will be so much better than what we have currently, that we will be able to, analyze sort of the buckets of complaints and concerns that are coming in and understand that much better and use that in order to improve efficiencies, but that's a fair ways down the road yet. The CRM itself won't be in place until probably spring of 2016.
Right.
So then it's going to take some time after that for us to get everything working and understanding how we use all those analytics and collect those things.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There not being any other questions, I'll just ask mine now. Sorry, Councillor Ioannidis, you have a question? Go ahead. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to deal with a motion to deferral, and there won't be any comments to that. So, but I will ask my question, and I just want to be clear. If I understand the report correctly, Mr. Wilmer, the position that's being proposed here would be within the target budget envelope that that Council has requested and will be considering on budget day, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And
I would just elaborate on that a little bit, though, to say that you'll recall that strategy session of late August where we talked about utility rates and talked about a second straight year of fairly substantial rates to utility or increases to utility rates. It would really be one of the main ways we would look to fund this rather than tax supported operating budget. So yes, the quick answer is yes. It's within the area that Council's looking to us to come in with a budget, but it's also, we'll remind you of that strategy session in August.
Okay, but part of that would obviously then be, I mean, if we've been talking, like if we've got challenges now in terms of workload and so on, I mean, there's a lot of coordination that happens between engineering upstairs in this building and the planning side of engineering and roadworks and infrastructure and what actually happens on the road from an operational point of view. And so I guess, when we think about the fact that, we know we've got to do more infrastructure work simply by virtue of our own, through our own budgeting and so on, and we know that there's been more infrastructure work that at least in theory has been promised federally for over the next few years, would that not even suggest, quite frankly, even more need and justification for this role?
In a word, yes. We've got an excellent asset management program, but it's only able to plan for the work that we've got the resources to deliver.
So if we're concerned about infrastructure and asset management and so on, this is part of what we need to deal with.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So I'll now deal with the motion to defer this. Councillor Gazzola. Yep. And until when?
Well, I'm really fighting a battle here that's not going to be considered. I was hopeful that it would be put off until the final budget day. I suppose I could compromise and say put it off until the first budget day, which is a week from today. I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric about what's it going to do to us, whether you hire, whatever direction you go in. You're going to be short of help from what you're talking about this winter. So that this isn't going to. These positions are not going to be filled in the next 2 months. I can hear there's just there's no wish to stop and think about this. Really, there really is only a page and a half of justification here. I know there was some discussion in caucus, which the public would have no aspect of hearing. So we really have here a page and a half very quickly with a number of generalizations, and that's it. If I remember correctly, there were a list of several new positions last year. We're looking at, from what I understand, another new position in the mayor's office. To me, this is all part of the budget deliberation and should be left to that. I would ask that it should go the proper full route.
Okay, so you're moving deferral to which? The final budget day. Is there a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Fernandez. Okay. All those in favor of the deferral? Okay. Recorded vote's been called. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion doesn't carry. Councillor Galloway-Seelock, you indicated you wanted to make the next motion. Go ahead.
Yeah, my motion would be really the first sentence of the recommendation, that one new permanent full-time director level position be established for the operations division, period.
Okay. And is there a seconder for that? Councillor Ioannidis? Okay. Councillor Ioannidis, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment. No one really likes to see a position added to our complement of positions within the city, but as Councillor Fernandez had put it eloquently in her previous arguments, this is what residents look at and want to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I know that I know through my experience within my ward, residents don't care if there's someone not there to do the work. They want the job done. They want a job done right away, and they don't care about excuses. So I think, I think this is a little bit of a wound in our operations division, and this is about putting a Band-Aid and hopefully healing that and moving forward with that, and that's what residents expect. So I'm looking forward to getting the proper core services that our residents need and expect, and let's get on with the show. Councillor Fernandez?
Yeah. It's not that I don't think that we need the leadership at the director level. I do really think we do. But I think what we are hearing is that the work in terms of frontline work is challenging for those employees to get that work done. And I think that, managers are managing people, but they're not the frontline staff. So what I'm concerned about is that having another director there, although the leadership will be there, the actual work that needs to be done is done with our frontline staff. And that's why I asked the question about through attrition, if we would reduce our complement of managers through attrition, because I do believe that a manager position could be divided out into maybe 1.5 people who would be actually doing the work. And I think that's sometimes where we're missing out. And that's what I do hear from, today there were a number of people who were working on some sidewalks in my ward. I was out on my bike, and, they sometimes there's the perspective of guys standing and looking in a hole, but sometimes there's the obvious work that is getting done. And I just don't want to lose that opportunity through just a leadership addition. Again, if there is efficiencies that can be gained by management through attrition, and using some of that funding maybe for frontline workers, I think that's what I keep hearing from you guys, that some of that work's not getting done. A director is not necessarily going to be out there doing some of that frontline stuff. So,
Councillor Schneider.
Thank you. I think this could give you a really great opportunity to really have a good look at things, including input from the frontline people. At the regional council meeting, we we heard firsthand how reorganization with our regional police department has helped and really will create efficiencies for them and help them get their work done more efficiently. I believe I was told once that the final results are kind of like a coffee maker, and if what's at the top of the coffee maker isn't great, what comes out at the bottom isn't very good. So I think this will give us a really good chance to really take a look at things and get some input from all levels of staff and really improve customer service. So I'm happy to support this.
Councillor Etherington.
Through you, Mr. Chair. It seems to me, for a variety of reasons, we've got a very important division struggling to cope. They've been struggling to cope for a while. And quite honestly, I'm not prepared to continue the level of employee stress that I think this could create and is already creating. So I think we have to bite the bullet and complete this hire, support the recommendation.
If I can speak to it briefly as well, I too will be supporting the recommendation before us. And I don't do it lightly, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that, as Councillor Davey indicated earlier, this city does not have a history, unlike in some cases, other municipalities, of growing our staff unnecessarily. The reality is, over a number of years, we have put some additional resources into operations at the frontline level. But this division has had one director as far back as I can remember in terms of my time on council. And at some point along the line, as you add all that additional staff, and as the city grows and things become more complex, you need to ensure that you have the right level of leadership at the top of the area. And if we are committed to delivering important public services that we've heard today are important to our residents, and if we're committed towards investing in infrastructure, which we've heard many of us are, then this is the kind of thing that, quite frankly, needs to be supported and move forward. Now, some will argue, why is this happening outside of the budget process? Well, I think that's been clearly explained. From time to time, you have things that you have to deal with outside of a process because you have a vacancy, and that's the time to deal with it. I mean, it would make far less sense, quite frankly, to go and hire somebody, maybe with different skill sets, maybe with incorrect skill sets, and either 6 months down the road say, oh, geez, you know what, we now need we need to envision this differently. You were the wrong person, and let's go in a different direction. No, now's the time to make that decision and hire the right people then that are going to help us move this division forward from a customer service perspective. This is about delivering services at a level that our citizens expect. Councillor Gazzola.
Yeah, I apologize for not buzzing in so that you can have the last word. I want to make it very clear that, to me, customer service is the most important part of our function here, and I'm totally supportive of it, and I see in a lot of cases a lack of it. I just do not believe that we've done, I haven't heard enough facts to justify what's going to happen from this. Adding one management position, is that going to get our grass cut faster? The arguments, the discussions we hear from our constituents is not usually something that the management deals with. It's something that the staff deals with. I'm not opposed to this, and I do appreciate that you need to add staff, but we need to do it. We need to do it in an orderly fashion, and not. We do a lot of knee-jerk reactions, and I think this is another one. I won't be. I asked for a recorded vote, and I won't be supporting it.
Okay. A recorded vote has been called, so we'll do that. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. Okay, we'll now go on then to the appointments. Council is aware that Councillor Yanetsky is not here today, and he did send me some correspondence of his interest, which I forwarded off to Council. I said at the appropriate time I would bring his name forward for those two things, and Council can handle them as they deem appropriate as part of the voting. So we'll go basically through the sheets as they exist right now, and we'll start with Community Services Committee. Councillor Davey.
I will move Councillor Galloway-Sealock as chair.
Okay. Councillor Gazzola.
I move Councillor Fernandez as chair.
Okay. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? No? Okay. Councillor Fernandez, do you allow your name to stand? Yep. Okay. Councillor Galloway-Sealock? Yep. Okay. We will then vote for one of Councillor Galloway-Sealock or Fernandez.
Gazzola Fernandez. Marsh Galloway-Sealock. Schneider Kelly Galloway-Sealock. Fernandez Yvonne Fernandez. Verbanovich Galloway-Sealock. Galloway-Sealock Galloway-Sealock. Davey Kelly Galloway-Sealock. Ioannidis Kelly Galloway-Sealock. Etherington Galloway-Sealock. Singh Galloway-Sealock.
Sorry, congratulations, Councillor Galloway-Sealock. We'll move on now to Vice Chair of that committee, Councillor Singh.
I'll nominate Councillor Schneider.
Okay. Councillor Gazzola.
I nominate Councillor Fernandez.
Okay. That would look to be the two nominations. Councillor Fernandez, do you allow your name to stand forward? That's all the nominations. Councillor Fernandez?
Sorry, I accidentally put it. I'd like to nominate Councillor Gazzola.
Okay. So, Councillor Gazzola, do you allow your name to stand? No, I don't. Okay. Councillor Fernandez, do you allow your name to stand?
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay. Councillor Schneider? Yes. Okay. Thank you. So there's two to vote from. Councillor Schneider or Councillor Fernandez?
Gazzola Fernandez, Marsh Fernandez, Schneider Schneider, Fernandez Fernandez, Verbanovic Schneider, Galloway Sealock Schneider, Davy Schneider, Ioannidis Schneider, Etherington Schneider, Singh Schneider.
Okay, congratulations, Councillor Schneider. We'll now move on to Finance and Corporate Services Committee. Councillor Galloway Sealock.
I nominate Councillor Davy.
Okay. Councillor Fernandez.
I nominate Councillor Gazzola.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay, no other nominations. Councillor Gazzola, do you allow your name to stand? Sorry, yes? Okay. Councillor Davy, do you allow your name to stand? Okay. So there's two people, sorry, you vote for one, either Councillor Davy or Councillor Gazzola.
Gazzola Gazzola, Marsh Davy, Schneider Davy, Fernandez Gazzola, Verbanovic Davy, Galloway Sealock Davy, Davy Davy, Ioannidis Davy, Etherington Davy, Singh Davy.
Okay, congratulations, Councillor Davy. We'll now move on to Vice Chair of the committee, Councillor Galloway Sealock.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Councillor Marsh.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Councillor Gazzola?
Yeah, I nominate Councillor Fernandez.
Okay. And Councillor Fernandez.
I do not wish to stand for that, but I will nominate Councillor Gazzola.
Okay. Councillor Gazzola, do you want your name to stand for that?
I don't. If there's not, if there can be an election, I don't want someone to not. Are there any other? Are the?
Well, I have to ask Councillor Marsh yet.
No, but are all the nominations in?
That's all the nominations there are. Yes. Councillor Fernandez declined your nomination. She nominated you. You were the last person to be nominated. I always start at the bottom, so now I'm asking you, and then I'll go to Councillor Marsh.
But I was going to nominate somebody.
Sorry?
I was going to nominate somebody.
I already. You want to nominate somebody at all? I'll allow you to do that, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Humor me.
Okay, that's fine.
Humor me. Well,
yep.
Really
okay, go ahead. Trying to be accommodating.
Yeah, thank you. I nominate Councillor Singh.
Okay, you're nominating Councillor Singh. So I will go to Councillor Singh first. Councillor Singh, you decline? Okay. Councillor Gazzola, back to you.
I decline.
You decline. Councillor Marsh? Yes. You'll accept? Okay. So by acclamation, Councillor Marsh, you're the Vice Chair. Congratulations. Okay. Moving on to Planning and Strategic Initiatives. Nominations. Councillor Gazzola. Actually, first of all, I said I would be nominating Councillor Yanetsky. So, as per my note to council earlier today, so I'm putting his name forward. Councillor Gazzola?
I was going to nominate Councillor Yanetsky,
Okay.
so that's fine. Thank
That's
you.
fine, thank you. Other nominations? Councillor Galloway Seelock?
I will nominate Councillor Singh.
Okay. Councillor Singh. Councillor Fernandez?
I'll nominate myself.
Okay. And, okay, any other nominations? Okay, if not, Councillor Fernandez, do you allow your name to stand? Okay, Councillor Singh, do you allow your name to stand? And Councillor Yanetsky obviously allows his name to stand because he indicated by email. So with that, you vote for one of three, Yanetsky, Singh, or Fernandez.
Gazzola Fernandez, Marsh Singh, Schneider Singh, Fernandez Fernandez, Verbanovic Singh, Galloway Seelock Singh, Davy Singh, Ionitis Singh, Etherington Singh, and Singh.
Okay, Councillor Singh, you're the new chair, or continuous chair, congratulations. Councillor Galloway Seelock. Oh, sorry, that's what you did. Next is the vice chair position for PSI. Councillor Gazzola.
I nominate Councillor Fernandez.
Okay, Councillor Singh.
Councillor Ioannidis.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Councillor Fernandez.
Yeah, I nominate Councillor Yanetsky.
Okay. So Councillor Yanetsky, I think, just expressed an interest for chairing, but I'm just going to go back to the note, if I can. Just bear with me a moment. In the note, he just expressed, with my planning background, I'd like to be chair of Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee. So I don't know that we can accept a nomination for something he didn't indicate.
Okay, then I'll.
Councillor Ioannidis, do you allow your name to stand? Okay, Councillor Fernandez, do you allow your name to stand?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll now vote for the vice chair, one of either Councillor Fernandez or Ioannidis. Oops.
Gazzola Fernandez, Marsh Ioannidis, Schneider Ioannidis, Fernandez Fernandez, Verbanovic Ioannidis, Galloway Seelock Ioannidis, Davy Ioannidis, Ioannidis, Etherington Ioannidis, Singh Ioannidis.
Okay. Councillor Ioannidis, congratulations. You're the new vice chair. We'll move on then to Grand River Accessibility Advisory Committee. Councillor Davey. Yep.
I will nominate Councillor Galloway-Seelock.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gazzola.
Nominate Councillor Fernandez.
Okay. Any other nominations? I'll go through the list. Councillor Fernandez, are you interested in having your name stand?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Galloway-Seelock, are you interested in having your name stand? Okay. So we will have a vote then. Pick one of Galloway-Seelock or Fernandez.
Councillor Singh votes for Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Ioannidis votes for Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Etherington votes for Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Davey votes for Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Galloway-Seelock votes for Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Mayor Verbanovic votes for Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Fernandez votes for Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Marsh votes for Councillor Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Schneider votes for Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Gazzola votes for Councillor Fernandez.
Okay, so it'll be Councillor Galloway-Seelock on GRAC. We'll now move to Kitchener Housing Board of Directors. And the council appointments stay the same. And I need nominations for the non-board positions. There is a letter in front of us with recommendation of reappointment of Councillor Perrant and of Mr. Richard Perrant and Mr. Ted Blaney. Councillor Galloway-Seelock.
I'll move the recommendations of the Kitchener Housing Incorporated.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? If not, then I will say all those in favor. Opposed? That's carried. We'll now move on to Kitchener Power Corp. Councillor Singh.
I nominate Councillor Etherington.
Okay. And before I forget, Councillor Yanetsky, as per the email I forwarded to Council, asked to be nominated, so I'm adding his name to it. Councillor Davey.
I will nominate Councillor Galloway-Seelock.
Okay. Councillor Gazzola.
I would nominate myself.
Okay. That's fine. And are there any other nominations? Okay. If not, we will be voting for two of the names between Yanetsky, Etherington, Galloway-Seelock, and Gazzola.
Councillor Gazzola nominates Councillor Gazzola and Councillor Yanetsky. Councillor Marsh nominates Councillor Etherington and Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Schneider recommends Councillor Etherington and Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Fernandez nominates Councillor Yanetsky and Councillor Gazzola. Mayor Verbanovic nominates Councillor Etherington and Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Singh nominates Councillor Etherington and Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Councillor Etherington nominates Councillor Etherington and Councillor Galloway Seelock. Councillor Ioannidis nominates Councillor Etherington, Councillor Galloway Seelock. Councillor Davey nominates Councillor Galloway Seelock and Councillor Etherington. Councillor Galloway Seelock nominates Councillor Galloway Seelock and Councillor Etherington.
I think if my math is correct, it's Councillor Etherington and Councillor Galloway Seelock. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Yes. Okay. Thank you. The Centre and the Square Board of Directors, as we've already outlined, has had their term expired, and that'll be coming back at some point over the next few months. I said expired, extended. Oh, thank you. Yes, we need to ratify the citizen appointment for Hydro as well, and there's a memo on there on your desks as well. Moved by Councillor Galloway Seelock. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ioannidis. All those in favour? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll now move on to the Kitchener-Waterloo Art Gallery. Any nominations? Councillor Ioannidis.
I'll nominate Councillor Marsh.
Okay. Councillor Marsh.
I accept.
Okay. Any other nominations? If not, then sorry. Okay, Councillor Fernandez.
Yeah, I nominate Councillor Etherington.
Councillor Etherington.
I would decline, Mr.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. So, Councillor Marsh. All those in favor of Councillor Marsh? Actually, I don't need to take a vote on an acclamation, correct? Okay. So, Councillor Marsh, congratulations. Grand River Hospital. Now, Councillor Yanetsky, I'm going to go back again. I don't think he said anything about that one. Just confirming. No, he didn't. So we need to open the floor to nominations. Councillor Singh.
Nominate Councillor Fernandez.
Okay, Councillor Fernandez has been nominated. Any other nominations? Councillor Fernandez declines. Other nominations? Councillor Gazzola.
I nominate Councillor Singh.
Okay, Councillor Singh has been nominated. Councillor Singh.
I've served in the past, and like someone else to have that opportunity. I served for 4 years, 3 years actually.
Okay, Councillor Ioannidis.
I nominate Councillor Gazzola.
Okay, Councillor Gazzola has been
I
nominated.
have served 8 years there, so
Okay, so
I will decline.
You'll declining. Is there other nominations? Councillor Gazzola.
I'll nominate Councillor Ioannidis.
Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Fernandez.
Despite the fact that Councillor Netsky is not here, he has expressed in the past that his pleasure in attending these meetings and being on the board. Can we not at least nominate him, since in his previous conversations he seems to enjoy sitting on the board?
Well, I specifically emailed him asking for him to send me his requests of what he wants to do. He has not, other than the email that I've shared with all of you, sent anything else to me or the clerk, so I can't presuppose in his absence what he wants to do. If nobody else accepts it today, then it would remain vacant, and we can consider it at a future point in time. But I don't think it'd be appropriate for me to accept things in people's absence. Councillor Marsh.
Just a question of clarification.
Yep.
So, did he receive this list to remind him that some of these are one-year terms? Yeah.
Yeah, he
Okay.
received the full package.
Okay, thanks.
And as soon as he indicated he was going to be away on holidays, I reached out to him and let him know. And he subsequently confirmed with the clerk that he had the material. So, Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Before anyone nominates me, I can't take this position, but I was going to recommend, Mr. Mayor, as an alternative, what we could do is, and I think we could do it, we could nominate two, and if Councillor Yaneski waives his right, then the second person that we nominate would have the position.
I think that my preference would be to, if Councillor Ioannidis doesn't want it today, to defer it, and we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it next day. Defer it. Okay. So, in the absence of any nominations, we'll deal with it at a subsequent meeting. Homer Watson House Foundation. Councillor Marsh.
I nominate Councillor Fernandez.
Okay. Any other nominations? Councillor Gazzola.
I nominate Councillor Galloway Seelock.
Okay. Any other nominations? If not, Councillor Galloway Seelock, do you allow your name to stand? Sure. Okay. Councillor Fernandez, do you allow your name to stand?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, the clerk just asked me what the deferral date's for, and I said for when Councillor Yanetsky's back.
Councillor Singh nominates Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Gazzola nominates Councillor Galloway Seelock. Councillor Marsh nominates Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Schneider nominates Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Fernandez nominates Councillor Fernandez. Mayor Verbanovic nominates Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Galloway Seelock nominates Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Davey nominates Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Ioannidis nominates Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Etherington nominates Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Singh nominates Councillor... I wrote the wrong...
You must have picked up a different one. I had said Fernandez, so you started with me, actually.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I got two for you. That's okay. That's for a different one. You're okay?
Still don't want you rigging the ballots.
Sorry. I was like... Yes. He's handing in too. We're good?
We'll now move on to Horticultural Society.
I will nominate Councillor John Gazzola. It's a fabulous board to be on.
All right, thank you. Any other nominations? Councillor Fernandez.
I'll nominate myself.
Okay. Any other nominations? If not, then congratulations, Councillor Fernandez. Okay. We'll now move on to Huron Natural Area. Nominations, please. Councillor Davey.
We'll nominate Councillor Galloway Seelock and Councillor Fernandez.
Okay. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Not Councillor Fernandez. Are you willing to have your name stay? Yep. Okay. Councillor Galloway Seelock, you willing to have your name stay? Okay. Well, we're all great wards. So congratulations to both of you. You're back on that committee. Kitchener and Bloom Committee, nominations. Councillor Schneider.
I nominate Councillor Singh.
Okay. Any other nominations? Councillor Fernandez.
Councillor Yanetsky indicated he wanted to sit on this.
Not in the email.
That's the email I had. Sorry, can't find it. There it is.
It's not the one he sent me. I forwarded to council the one that he sent me. Do you have something to the contrary?
Yep.
Okay.
He sent me on Sunday that he had sent you an email, but he also asked for the Hydro Board, the Grand River Hospital, and the Kitchener in Bloom.
Well, I wish you would have said that earlier. Can I see that email? Because I haven't.
You can.
That's not one that he sent me. So in the email to you, he indicated, I am also willing to be appointed to the KW Hydro Board, reappointed to Grand River Hospital, and appointed to Kitchener in Bloom. Wish you would have raised that earlier, and I wish he would have been consistent in the emails that he was requested to send. So I will accept that nomination. So we have Councillor Yanetsky and Councillor Singh. Councillor Singh, are you willing to let your name stand? Okay. Oh, sorry, there's more in the queue. Councillor Gazzola.
Oh, no.
Okay. Councillor Davey.
No, I don't want to nominate someone. I just wanted to see if we could waive notice, reconsider the deferral, and put Councillor Yanetsky in the hospital board after.
Yeah, I think we're still in the same meeting, so we can do that. Okay, so Kitchener and Bloom, we have two people whose names forward, Councillor Singh and Councillor Yanetsky. You can vote for one of. You nominated yourself as well? No, so there are two. So there are two people, Councillor Singh or Councillor Yanetsky. You vote for one of them.
Councillor Marsh votes for Councillor Singh. Councillor Fernandez votes for Councillor Yanetsky. Councillor Gazzola votes for Councillor Yanetsky. Councillor Schneider votes for Councillor Singh. Mayor Verbanovic votes for Councillor Singh. Councillor Galloway-Sealock votes for Galloway Singh. Councillor Davey votes for Councillor Singh. Councillor Ioannidis votes for Councillor Singh. Councillor Etherington votes for Councillor Singh. Councillor Singh votes for Councillor Singh.
Okay, so it would be Councillor Singh for Kitchener and Bloom. I'll go back then to Grand River Hospital. Are there Councillor Singh?
Nominate Councillor Janetsky.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for Grand River Hospital? If not, then it's Councillor Yanetsky for Grand River Hospital. Multicultural Centre Board of Directors. Councillor Ioannidis.
I'll nominate Councillor Marsh.
Okay. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Councillor Fernandez?
I'll nominate Frank Etherington.
Okay. Any other nominations? Oh, I'll get to you. Don't worry. You're not nominating anybody? Okay. So then, Councillor Etherington, do you accept or decline? Okay. Thank you. Councillor Marsh? Okay. So there not being any other candidates, Councillor Marsh, you're on Multicultural Centre Board. Councillor Etherington. Oh, okay. You were clicked in.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're on to Oktoberfest. Councillor Davey.
I will move Councillors Ioannidis and Schneider.
Okay. Ioannidis and Schneider have been moved. Councillor Fernandez.
I will nominate Councillor Gazzola.
Okay, Councillor Gazzola. Any other nominations? Okay, Councillor Gazzola. Okay. Councillor Schneider? Yes. Councillor Ioannidis? Yes. Okay. So you'll vote for two of the appointments on Oktoberfest. Ioannidis, Schneider, and Gazzola.
Councillor Gazzola votes for Councillor Ioannidis and Councillor Schneider. Councillor Marsh votes for Councillor Ioannidis and Councillor Schneider. Councillor Schneider votes for Councillor Ioannidis and Councillor Schneider. Councillor Fernandez votes for Councillor Schneider and Councillor Gazzola. Mayor Urbaniak votes for Councillor Gazzola and Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Singh votes for Councillor Schneider and Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Davey votes for Councillor Schneider and Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Galloway-Sealock votes for Councillor Ioannidis and Councillor Gazzola. Councillor Ioannidis votes for Councillor Schneider and Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Etherington votes for Councillor Schneider and Councillor Ioannidis.
Okay, I think I missed one, Madam Clerk, so I need you to tally them up, please, for me.
Councillor Ioannidis, 9 votes. Councillor Schneider, 8 votes. Councillor Gazzola, 3 votes. Sorry.
Okay, so it's Councillor Ioannidis and Councillor Schneider. And now we get on to WLU. Councillor Singh.
I nominate for reappointment for Councillor Galloway-Sealock.
Okay. Any other nominations? Councillor Gazzola.
I nominate myself.
Okay. Any other nominations? Councillor Gazzola? You want to be there? Councillor Galloway-Sealock? Okay. So one of Councillor Galloway-Sealock or Councillor Gazzola?
It's not in here.
Councillor Schneider votes for Councillor Galloway-Sealock. Councillor Marsh votes for Councillor Galloway-Sealock. Councillor Davey votes for Councillor Galloway-Sealock. Councillor Gazzola votes for Councillor Gazzola. Councillor Fernandez votes for Councillor Gazzola. Mayor Urbaniak votes for Councillor Galloway-Sealock. Councillor Galloway-Sealock votes for Councillor Galloway-Sealock. Councillor Ioannidis votes for Councillor Galloway-Sealock. Councillor Singh votes for Councillor Galloway-Sealock. Councillor Etherington votes for Councillor Galloway-Sealock.
Okay, so that'll be Councillor Galloway-Sealock. So that completes the appointments. We'll now move to item 4. If someone wants to move the in-camera matter, moved by Councillor Singh. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Marsh. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.